Welcome to today's deep dive. We're jumping right into the deep end today.
Oh, absolutely. The very deep end.
Yeah, we're getting into a massive, just sweeping sci-fi epic. It's the serial narrative called the 10,000-Year Vigilance.
Which is just a brilliant piece of world building.
Yeah, it really is. And our mission today is to thoroughly unpack this universe because it's a setting where, the scale of time and just the sheer physics of survival kind of bend the mind.
Right. It completely forces you to rethink scale.
Exactly. So we're looking at what happens when an entire species, humanity in this case, just chooses to exile itself for 100 centuries.
10,000 years in the dark.
Yeah, just to build something incomprehensibly vast. So before we get into the details, I want you, the listener, to just imagine something for a second.
A little thought experiment.
Right. Imagine you walk outside tonight, you find a dark spot away from the city lights, and you just look up at the night sky.
And you see thousands of stars.
Thousands of them, yeah. But I want you to hold on to this very specific, honestly slightly terrifying thought. Imagine that every single star you are looking at right there isn't natural.
Oh, man. That gives me chills just thinking about it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that instead of just, wild burning gas, every star you see is actually a highly calibrated, meticulously disguised piece of a dormant machine.
An ancient machine.
Yes, a cosmic mechanism just waiting for the trigger to wake up.
And that right there, that takes the natural universe and fundamentally reframes it as a manufactured artifact.
A manufactured artifact. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and that paradigm shift, that is the engine of the 10,000-year vigilance. That's what drives the whole thing.
It totally does.
Because the core mystery of the narrative is just this huge question of scale and, honestly, dread. Like, what kind of threat is so immense, so absolute, that an entire species has to vanish for 10 millennia simply to construct a defense against it?
Right. What makes you look at the galaxy, see an apocalypse coming, and decide, well, the only rational response is to completely disappear?
Then start moving stars around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So to really grasp the shockwave of humanity's eventual return in the story, we sort of have to establish the baseline first.
We have to look at the galaxy they left behind.
Right. When the story opens, humanity isn't just missing. The text makes it very clear that they are utterly forgotten.
Completely erased from memory.
Yeah. We're thrust into this era where humanity has gone from, a historical fact to a vague legend, and then eventually into just a fairy tale.
A literal fairy tale that parents tell their kids.
Exactly. And the decay of that historical memory over 10,000 years is, it's a fascinating sociological concept.
That really is. I mean, the text is explicit, right? It says the galaxy had forgotten humanity. Not recently, not gradually, completely.
Which kind of messes with your head, because in a scientifically advanced multi-species galactic civilization, you'd assume data's permanent.
You'd think so, yeah. We think of digital storage as forever. But information entropy is just relentless.
Relentless. I like that.
Over 100 centuries, the digital substrates holding those old records, they degrade.
Yeah.
Or they just become incompatible with new tech.
Right. Like trying to play a floppy disk on a modern smartphone, but scaled up to a galactic level.
Exactly. And over 10,000 years, civilizations rise, they reach their peak, they collapse. You have dark ages, reformations, galactic wars.
All of that just wiping the slate clean over and over.
Yeah. But more importantly than all of that, there is linguistic drift.
Oh, the language mutation over that timeline would be absolute.
Totally absolute.
Even in a highly connected society, slang evolves into dialect, and dialect evolves into a completely new language.
Now multiply that across thousands of different species.
With different vocal cords,
Yeah.
different cognitive structures. The original context of any historical record would just be completely lost.
Precisely. And when language shifts so drastically, translation just becomes interpretation.
And interpretation morphs into myth.
Exactly. The factual reality of a spacefaring human empire was just slowly eroded away.
And whatever historical data actually managed to survive the millennia it was stripped of its nuance. It was reduced to archetypes.
Yeah, and the text gives us the specific traits of these human myths, which I find fascinating.
Well, the specific myths are the best part.
They were described as warriors who could survive impossible wounds, explorers who navigated the event horizons of black holes, engineers who moved planets.
And dreamers who categorically refused to accept limitations.
Right. It's not a balanced historical view.
No, not at all. I found that specific list of traits really telling, Because it's not that they remembered us for, like, our diplomacy or our art.
Or our poetry now.
Right. They remember the raw, physics-defying stubbornness.
Mhm.
It's this very particular kind of cultural memory.
It really paints a picture of a species that looks at the fundamental laws of thermodynamics and just
Simply refuses to comply.
exactly refuses to comply. And that refusal is deeply unsettling to the rest of the galaxy.
Because if you're a civilization built on order and logic and the accepted limitations of science,
The idea of a species crossing a black hole or shifting a planet's orbit, that isn't just an engineering marvel, it's a violation of the natural order.
it's terrifying. It implies an unstoppable willpower.
And over time, the collective consciousness of the galaxy turns that terrifying willpower into fiction because it functions as a psychological coping mechanism.
Right. The scholars in the story literally state that humans must be fictional because no species could be that powerful.
It's the ultimate galactic hubris.
It really is. It's like, for us, it's like discovering the ancient Greek gods were real, but instead of supernatural beings throwing magic lightning, they were just incredibly advanced, brutally pragmatic engineers.
Engineers who could bend the crust of the Earth to their will.
Yeah. You wouldn't be fascinated, you would be horrified. Because their sheer existence invalidates everything you thought you knew about the limits of reality.
The galaxy is just comfortably asleep, wrapped in this arrogant assumption that their current technological ceiling is the universal absolute.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the inciting incident, the psychological devastation of it.
Because that transition from a comforting fictional myth to a terrifying immediate reality.
It happens in a fraction of a second.
Yes. It hinges on a single broadcast that just shatters a 10,000-year silence.
A 6-word signal. That's all it takes.
6 words?
Humanity is returning. Stand by.
It gives me goosebumps.
But it's not just the message itself, right? It's the delivery.
Oh, the delivery is everything.
The broadcast hits every single communication network, every military orbital station, every civilian data pad across the entire galaxy, all at the exact same instant.
And the physics of that moment are arguably way more terrifying to the Galactic Council than the actual message.
Let's break that down. Let's analyze the mechanics of a truly simultaneous galactic broadcast.
Okay, so the Milky Way is roughly 100,000 light years across.
All right. A huge expanse of space.
Even with advanced, faster-than-light communication networks, subspace relays and all that, there is still a propagation delay.
Signals have to hop through relays.
They have to travel through subspace corridors, so a signal appearing on every single screen simultaneously
with zero lag.
with zero lag and zero discernible origin point. That completely breaks the known laws of causality.
Because for that to happen, humanity isn't just sending a really strong radio wave.
No, they are bypassing the infrastructure entirely.
Exactly. It implies they are manipulating the fundamental fabric of space-time.
Perhaps utilizing non-local quantum entanglement on a macro scale, just forcing the information to manifest at its destination without crossing the intervening space.
Or tapping into some tachyonic field that just supersedes the speed of causality altogether.
Whatever the mechanism is, the technological supremacy required to execute that broadcast.
It renders the galaxy's entire defensive posture completely obsolete in an instant.
Right, because if they can untraceably hack every screen on every planet in the galaxy at the exact same second,
There's absolutely nothing stopping them from turning off every planetary life support system.
or instantly detonating every fusion drive in the galactic fleet.
Boom. Game over.
Which directly explains the immediate visceral panic in the text.
Yeah, the story details governments declaring states of emergency, military fleets activating battle readiness protocols.
They aren't reacting to a normal threat. They are reacting to a demonstration of godhood.
Now, let's think about this from the perspective of the average galactic citizen. You get a message that says, humanity is returning. Stand by.
Yeah.
Why assume hostility immediately?
Yeah.
A logical civilization might send out scout ships or open hailing frequencies.
You'd think so, but the reaction is just pure, unadulterated terror.
Why is that?
It speaks to the sociology of fear and projection. No one actually knows why humanity disappeared 10,000 years ago.
Right, the records are gone.
There are no records of an exodus, no stated reasons. And when there is a vacuum of intent, a civilization will always fill that void with its own insecurities.
They project their own guilt onto the situation.
Exactly. They start asking, did our ancestors drive them away?
Did they leave in disgust because we were primitive?
Are they returning to reclaim their territory? Are they returning for vengeance?
When a mythical entity suddenly proves its existence and shows that level of absolute power, You don't prepare a welcome parade.
No, you prepare for an extinction-level war.
And the really brilliant part of the narrative here is just that phrase, stand by.
It's agonizing.
It's an agonizing instruction.
Mhm.
For 3 days, the entire galaxy just sits there in a pressure cooker of its own paranoia.
Nobody sleeps.
Nobody sleeps. It's this unintentional form of psychological warfare. You are a galactic leader, and you just have to sit there staring at your massive fleet.
Knowing it's entirely useless against whoever sent that message.
Right. But then the silence is eventually broken.
But not by another message.
No. It's broken by the physical universe itself, altering at the edge of known space.
This is where the story shifts from a communication anomaly to a macroengineering discovery.
It completely redefines the scale of the human endeavor. This is where the story truly scales up for me.
Deep space sensors at the very edge of the galactic map suddenly detect impossible energy signatures.
In a dead, empty region of space. It's just waking up.
So the Galactic Council scrambles this massive exploration fleet to investigate.
And what they find shatters every known scientific doctrine. They find thousands of stars. But they're not normal stars.
They're engineered stars.
Yes, engineered. And we need to dive deep into the specific terminology the text uses here, because the distinction is so vital.
It explicitly states these stars were not harvested, not controlled, engineered.
Let's separate those concepts to understand the magnitude of what humanity has been doing.
Right, because at a glance, using a star for power is a standard sci-fi trope.
We're all familiar with Dyson spheres or stellar lifters.
Yeah. Harvesting a star implies building a superstructure around it, to passively collect the energy it naturally radiates.
You're essentially putting a giant solar panel around a campfire.
Exactly. Controlling a star might involve managing its fusion processes, injecting elements to extend its lifespan, or dialing its output up or down.
You're acting as a custodian of a natural phenomenon.
But to engineer a star,
Yeah, what does that actually mean in the context of a 10,000-year absence?
it implies you have stripped away its identity as a natural celestial body. You have fundamentally altered its physical properties to serve as a component in a larger mechanism.
You aren't just taking its energy.
No, you are modifying its metallicity, its gravitational shear, its fusion rhythm, so that it functions as a literal gear or conduit in a machine that spans thousands of light years.
You are using the star's gravity well as a structural anchor.
And its plasma output as a data transmission medium. The star is no longer a star, it is a cog.
It's a cog. Imagine you're exploring the woods and you find this incredibly complex mechanical watch. But instead of brass and steel, the gears are made of compressed hydrogen.
And the springs are made of twisting magnetic fields.
Right. And the entire thing is the size of a constellation. That's what these galactic explorers are looking at.
And the text notes that the age of this macrostructure is estimated at exactly 10,000 years.
The timeline aligns perfectly with their disappearance, which means humanity didn't just evacuate into the dark to hide.
They immediately went to work.
And the moment this ancient machine powers up, it begins transmitting coordinates deeper into the void, pointing toward a region known as the Dark Expanse.
An area previously thought to be an absolute astronomical void, just nothingness.
The Galactic Council is already in full panic mode at this point, so they do the only thing they can think of.
They send a 5,000-ship armada.
The largest scientific and military expedition in history, following those coordinates into the black.
And they travel for 6 solid months through absolute nothingness.
I try to put myself in the shoes of a sensor operator on one of those ships.
Yeah.
You are staring into a void for half a year, just waiting for the boogeyman to appear.
And when they finally arrive, what they find isn't just a hidden fleet or a secret colony world.
No, they find an ecosystem of macroengineering that makes the rest of the galaxy look like a quaint agrarian village.
The text describes a civilization larger than some galaxies. Artificial suns illuminating the darkness. Habitats the size of solar systems.
Planet-sized factories churning out starships by the millions.
But the centerpiece, the thing that truly anchors this new human empire, is a ring structure surrounding a supermassive black hole.
Which is just, harnessing a supermassive black hole requires an almost incomprehensible grasp of physics.
They are likely utilizing the Penrose process on a galactic scale, extracting the rotational energy of the black hole's ergosphere to power these planet-sized factories.
That by building a ring around it, they have essentially collared the most destructive gravitational force in the universe.
And turned it into an infinite battery.
The commander of the exploration fleet is looking at this empire of engineering, and he asks the screen, who built this?
And the response manifests on all their monitors.
Welcome to humanity.
Welcome to humanity. It's such a powerful semantic shift.
Humanity isn't just a biological species anymore. Humanity is a location. It is an infrastructure.
It is a fundamental force of nature in the dark expanse.
And the existential dread of that galactic fleet must be absolute in that moment. They are looking at a civilization that has spent 10 millennia in a state of hyper-accelerated, uninterrupted industrialization.
But the crucial question, right, the intent behind all this, it remains unanswered.
And the galaxy has brought 5,000 heavily armed warships to humanity's doorstep.
The tension is at its absolute peak.
But humanity's response to this massive armada is brilliant. It really is. The text describes a vessel emerging from the darkness, a ship that dwarfs moons.
But it's not a jagged, heavily armored dreadnought.
No, its surface is covered in forests, oceans, cities, mountains. It's a living, breathing ecosystem traveling through space.
It's a world ship.
A world ship. And the aesthetics of the ship are entirely intentional.
Completely. A warship projects aggression and insecurity. A world ship projects stability and permanence.
It approaches the fleet, and a simple greeting is broadcast. Greetings, travelers.
And then, 3 days later, humanity makes its formal diplomatic move.
They request a meeting with the Galactic Council, back in the Council's home space.
But the conditions of that meeting are what make it a true masterclass in power dynamics.
Oh, absolutely. They don't want to bring their massive fleet. They don't want a huge diplomatic entourage.
They send exactly one representative.
A single, unarmed ambassador.
The Galactic Council accepts, but the atmosphere in that chamber is understandably fraught.
Every leader present is expecting a conqueror. They expect this being of pure arrogance to stride in and demand unconditional surrender.
They are completely preparing to be subjugated. But the text specifically notes that the human ambassador arrived with, quote, calm confidence.
Let's analyze the psychology of sending just one person. If you are a rising superpower, you show off your military, you fly your bombers over the parade route.
To project force.
But if you possess factories the size of planets and harness supermassive black holes,
you don't need a parade.
Exactly.
Sending a solitary, unarmed individual into the political epicenter of a heavily militarized galaxy is the ultimate projection of absolute security.
It implicitly communicates. Your entire combined military force is of so little consequence to us that I don't even need a bodyguard.
You cannot harm me. And even if you did, it wouldn't change the outcome.
It removes the concept of conflict entirely. It forces the Council to realize they aren't negotiating with a rival state.
They are receiving an emissary from a higher plane of existence.
So the ambassador looks around this terrified room full of galactic leaders and says, "We are not here to conquer you."
You can almost hear the collective exhale of billions of citizens.
The tension breaks. The gods are merciful, right?
But the relief is fleeting.
So fleeting, because the ambassador immediately follows up with the true purpose of their return.
We are here to warn you.
And this is where the story shifts. It goes from a geopolitical thriller into straight-up cosmic horror.
The Council asks what they are being warned about.
And the ambassador activates a holographic projection, showing a region of space far beyond the observable universe.
And what they see is a darkness, a massive, formless anomaly. And it's moving, growing, approaching the galactic edge.
The ambassador's explanation fundamentally shatters the Council's understanding of the universe.
He tells them that 10,000 years ago, humanity discovered evidence of a cyclical event.
Quote, "The thing that destroyed the civilizations before yours."
The hologram shows ancient galaxies simply vanishing, billions of stars being consumed, erased by this encroaching dark.
And the philosophy of cosmic insignificance here is just heavy.
It's a massive theme.
We talked about how the galactic leaders were arrogant, thinking they were the peak of evolution. Now they are being told that their entire recorded history is just a brief pause between cosmic exterminations.
The revelation reframes the entire scale of existence. It introduces the concept of deep time cycles, events that occur over hundreds of millions of years, just sweeping the universe clean.
The political squabbles, the border disputes, the economic trades of the Galactic Council.
They're rendered completely moot. They are insects arguing over a leaf while a forest fire bears down on them.
And the most terrifying part isn't just the darkness itself. It's the fact that the human ambassador, representing a species that can build star-sized machines, admits they don't even know what the darkness is.
They only know what it does.
If these godlike beings are terrified of it, what hope does the rest of the galaxy have?
Right, so the Council asks the only logical question remaining. Then how did you survive?
And the human's response fundamentally rewrites the history of the last 10,000 years because we left to prepare.
Humanity didn't just vanish, they evacuated.
And they did it because no one else would listen to them. 10,000 years ago, humans found the data. They saw the anomaly coming, and they took that evidence to the Galactic Council.
The text states, no species believed them. No empire listened.
It's the ultimate manifestation of the Cassandra complex.
To possess the absolute apocalyptic truth, but be cursed with an audience that refuses to accept it.
The galactic empires of the time were likely bogged down in their own internal politics, their economic rivalries, their comfortable status quo.
When humanity presented evidence of a cyclical cosmic eraser, they were likely dismissed as alarmists.
Or accused of fabricating a threat just to seize emergency political power.
Exactly. It's a tragically common dynamic. We see it on a small scale all the time.
Oh, all the time. People presented with uncomfortable, world-altering data often choose to attack the messenger rather than address the problem.
So humanity was faced with an impossible choice.
Do they stay and fight a political war, trying to force a stubborn, arrogant galaxy to see the truth?
Or do they walk away?
They chose a path of brutal, uncompromising pragmatism. They calculated the time it would take to convince the galaxy,
Realized it would cost them the time needed to actually build a defense.
and made the decision to sever all ties. They abandoned their home systems, ventured into the uncharted dark expanse, and committed themselves entirely to preparation.
I really want to dig into the sociology of that decision. Because surviving 10,000 years in the dark, entirely focused on a singular goal, is a, frankly, unbelievable feat of cultural engineering.
It requires a fundamental rewiring of human nature. 10,000 years is hundreds of generations.
In standard human history, empires rarely last more than a few centuries before internal decay, civil war, or shifting ideologies tear them apart.
So how do you keep the 50th generation motivated to build a giant shield against an enemy they've never seen, based on data collected 2,000 years before they were born?
It's wild. Why didn't a faction just say, you know what, this darkness is a myth created by our paranoid ancestors. Let's take our planet-sized factories and go conquer the Milky Way.
Exactly. The society must have been architected around the concept of existential stewardship.
The construction of the defenses wasn't just a military project. It likely became the core of their culture, their religion, their identity.
The megastructures they lived within, the black hole rings, the engineered stars, they served as constant, inescapable physical reminders of their purpose.
You don't rebel against the project when the project is the literal floor beneath your feet and the artificial sun above your head.
The threat of the darkness became the gravitational center of human psychology.
They sacrificed 10 millennia of normal cultural evolution. No pointless wars, no petty politics, just a pure, unbroken lineage of engineers and builders holding the line.
And they did it not just for themselves, but eventually for the very galaxy that laughed at them.
Because now, the clock has run out.
The millennia of preparation are over. The text explicitly states humanity returned because the enemy was finally here.
The transition from hypothetical threat to immediate reality is swift and catastrophic.
The attack begins mere weeks after the warning.
And the nature of the attack defies conventional warfare. The text describes it chillingly. It says, a star vanished, not exploded, vanished. One moment it existed, the next moment it didn't.
It's not a laser beam. It's not a kinetic impactor. It's an ontological threat.
It's localized erasure.
It's as if the universe's source code is just being deleted.
The military fleets sent to investigate are simply removed from existence.
Which finally shatters the galaxy's complacency. For the first time in recorded history, every major power puts aside their differences and unites into a single, massive armada.
20 million warships gathered to face the dark.
And humanity shows up to this apocalyptic showdown with 10,000 ships.
The contrast in numbers is stark.
And incredibly, even on the precipice of absolute annihilation, the galactic powers still managed to cling to their hubris.
The text notes that many species openly mocked humanity's contribution. Quote, only 10,000 ships against a cosmic threat. Pathetic.
The galactic leaders are still thinking in terms of volume. They view warfare as an equation of mass. 20 million is bigger than 10,000, therefore 20 million is stronger.
They fundamentally misunderstand what they are looking at.
It is a profound failure to understand the concept of technological tier advancement.
The Galactic Fleet has spent 10,000 years iterating on the same basic principles, perhaps making their lasers slightly more efficient, their armor slightly denser.
Humanity spent 10,000 years reinventing physics.
20 million muskets are completely useless against a modern air force. The volume of ships is irrelevant when the underlying scientific paradigm is obsolete.
And that becomes violently apparent the moment the battle begins. The darkness emerges, space cracks, reality distorts, and millions of enemy vessels, each larger than a planet, pour into the galaxy.
The United Galactic Fleet opens fire with everything they have.
And the result is absolute failure.
Their weapons simply fail to interact with the enemy. Their shields offer zero resistance.
Within hours, 5 million galactic warships, a quarter of their entire combined force, are effortlessly erased from reality.
The sheer mass of their fleet provided nothing but a larger target.
And then the 10,000 human ships advance. The text emphasizes their movement. Calmly, without fear, without hesitation.
They don't bother trying to evade the enemy attacks, because they don't need to.
The text states that every human vessel carried technology developed across 10,000 years of uninterrupted progress.
We are witnessing the deployment of weapons and defenses that operate outside the standard model of physics.
This is where the narrative truly unleashes the results of the long game. One human ship fires, and an entire enemy formation simply disappears.
It's counter-erasure.
But the second ship's weapon is what really caught my attention. Another fired. Reality folded around the target.
Let's examine the hypothetical mechanics of a reality-folding weapon. We are moving way beyond directed energy or kinetic impactors here.
The ship is manipulating the metric tensor of space-time itself.
By generating an incredibly dense, localized artificial gravity well, or perhaps a localized Alcubierre warp bubble that collapses inward.
They are taking the spatial coordinates occupied by the enemy ship and violently crushing them.
They are folding the three-dimensional space like a piece of paper, effectively crushing the enemy vessel into a momentary singularity.
You cannot armor your ship against a weapon that turns the space your ship occupies into a weapon itself.
It's weaponized geometry.
And another ship fires a beam that cleanly splits a moon-sized vessel in half. The sheer energetic output to overcome the gravitational binding energy of a moon-sized object instantaneously.
It's unfathomable.
The tide of the battle turns instantly. For the first time, the endless darkness is forced to retreat.
The surviving billions across the galaxy watch this play out, and the realization finally dawns on them.
Humanity isn't just an advanced military force. They have ascended to a completely different tier of civilization.
It's a brutal, spectacular demonstration of quality over quantity. The galaxy spent its history building more. Humanity spent its exile building better.
However, the narrative introduces a critical turning point here.
The war grinds on for months. Humanity pushes the enemy back in every engagement, but the darkness is described as endless, relentless.
This is a terrifying realization. You can possess reality-folding weapons, but if you are fighting a war against an infinite number of targets, the math eventually works against you.
You cannot win a war of attrition against infinity.
Even humanity, with all their godlike technology, begins to struggle under the sheer, unyielding pressure of the dark.
Which logically forces the activation of their true failsafe. The weapons, no matter how advanced, were only ever a stalling tactic.
They were buying time for the main event.
Which brings us to the climax of the story. The true purpose behind the 10,000-year exile.
The activation of the stellar engine.
We circle back to the beginning of the narrative. The explorers had discovered thousands of engineered stars at the edge of known space.
The natural assumption, both by the characters and the reader, was that this macrostructure was a factory, or perhaps a massive offensive weapon.
A galactic-scale gun waiting to fire.
But when human engineers synchronized the network, the truth is revealed. Energy flowed across light years. Reality trembled.
The machine wasn't a weapon, it was a shield.
A localized manipulation of space-time, anchored by the mass of thousands of engineered stars, creating a barrier that encompasses the entire galaxy.
Let's analyze how a stellar shield might function against an enemy that utilizes ontological erasure.
If the enemy attacks by deleting the rules of reality in a specific area,
The shield must be a mechanism that forcefully enforces the baseline reality.
by synchronizing the gravitational and electromagnetic output of thousands of stars, humanity created an interlocking web of constructive interference.
They anchored the local quantum field. They made reality too rigid to be erased.
It's the ultimate expression of immovable defense. We often think of advanced civilizations as possessing world-destroying weapons.
But humanity's ultimate achievement, the culmination of 100 centuries of sacrifice and labor, was a wall.
They didn't spend their exile building a sword. They built an umbrella.
It perfectly encapsulates their transition into guardianship. The darkness launches its final apocalyptic assault, striking the shield.
The kinetic and energetic transfer is so massive that the impact illuminates millions of stars across the galaxy.
Imagine standing on a planet looking up at the night sky. The black void of space suddenly erupts into a blinding web of synchronized starlight as the shield absorbs the impact.
The text says, space itself shook. For 3 days, the universe throws its absolute worst at the barrier.
It's an endurance test of a 10,000-year-old machine against an ancient cosmic eraser.
The suspense must have been paralyzing. But then, the text delivers the crucial resolution. The shield held, the darkness stopped advancing.
Those words represent the breaking of a cycle that has lasted for hundreds of millions of years.
Countless civilizations across countless eras had been consumed, but humanity's preparation finally broke the pattern.
The enemy, unable to breach the stellar anchor, retreats back into the void. The galaxy survives.
The physical conflict is resolved, but the narrative has one final, vital geopolitical question to answer.
The ancient destroyer is gone. The galaxy is safe. But the balance of power has been irrevocably altered.
Humanity is now the undisputed godlike superpower of the known universe. Who inherits the galaxy?
Months pass, celebrations spread across thousands of worlds. The Galactic Council is drowning in gratitude, but also undoubtedly terrified of what humanity might do next.
So they make the only strategic move they can. They formally offer humanity supreme leadership of the galaxy.
The throne of the Milky Way. It is the ultimate political prize, the power to govern trillions, to dictate trade, to rule known space.
And the human ambassador's reaction is incredible. The text simply says, the human ambassador laughed.
He politely declines the offer.
He tells the council, we didn't return to rule.
From a sociological standpoint, the Council's offer represents a fundamental misunderstanding of humanity's evolution.
The council values political dominion because that is the currency of their civilization.
But humanity spent 10,000 years harnessing black holes and building civilizations in the absolute void.
The offer of political leadership over a galaxy they already view as quaint is entirely meaningless to them.
It would be like offering the architect of the Hoover Dam a job managing a local lemonade stand.
They have completely outgrown the concept of political empire. Empire is driven by ego and a desire for resource control.
Humanity has infinite resources in the dark expanse, and their ego was replaced by a philosophy of cosmic stewardship millennia ago.
The council, utterly bewildered by a superpower that refuses to conquer, asks the ambassador why they returned at all, if not to rule.
And the ambassador's reply provides the emotional anchor for the entire epic.
He looks toward the stars and says, because this is home.
That line grounds everything. It takes this terrifying, reality-bending species and connects them back to a deeply relatable human emotion.
They didn't save the galaxy to flex their technological superiority. They didn't do it to exact revenge or extract tribute.
They did it out of a profound sense of nostalgia. The Milky Way is their cradle. They return to protect their childhood home.
It formalizes their new role. They are not conquerors. They are guardians by choice.
The text summarizes their journey beautifully. While others argued, humans prepared. While others doubted, humans built. While others feared, humans planned.
And when the greatest threat in cosmic history arrived, humanity returned. Not for revenge, not for conquest, but to ensure that the lights of civilization would never go out.
They stepped into the role of protectors because they were the only ones who possessed the discipline to forge the shield.
The rest of the galaxy is free to continue their lives, their politics, and their arguments, secure in the knowledge that the gods are watching the borders.
It is a stunning, sprawling narrative.
We've gone from a forgotten myth to the panic of a 6-word broadcast. We journeyed into the dark expanse to witness the rings around black holes.
We watched a single ambassador stare down a terrified council.
We analyzed the reality-folding weapons that shattered the darkness and the engineered stars that shielded the galaxy.
If we synthesize the overarching theme of this deep dive, it is a study on the mechanics of long-term survival.
The tragedy and the triumph of the story both stem from the concept of preparation.
The galaxy nearly died because it was consumed by the noise of the present, the immediate political squabbles, and the arrogant assumption that they understood the limits of the universe.
Humanity survived and eventually saved everyone because they were willing to sacrifice their present comfort to build for an unseen future.
And that leads me to a final thought, a concept to carry with you after we sign off.
Think about that moment 10,000 years ago. Humanity has the evidence. They know the apocalypse is coming.
They try to warn the galaxy, and they are mocked and ignored. The pivotal moment of the evacuation.
Right. Imagine if they hadn't left. Imagine if they had let their pride dictate their actions.
If they had decided to stay and fight the political battle, arguing in council chambers for centuries, trying to force a stubborn galaxy to believe them.
They would have burned the very time they needed to build the stellar engine. They would have been consumed along with everyone else.
Sometimes the noise is a trap. Engaging with the doubt and the politics can consume the energy required for the solution.
Exactly. It makes you realize that sometimes in our own lives, when we are faced with massive, overwhelming challenges, the bravest and most effective thing we can do isn't to stay and argue.
It isn't to fight the people who refuse to understand.
The most powerful choice might be to simply walk away from the noise, retreat into the quiet, and dedicate yourself to building the solution.
Tonight, if you find yourself looking up at those stars, consider the scale of time.
Consider the incredible power of uninterrupted focus. And ask yourself, are you spending your energy reacting to the noise? Or are you quietly building your shield?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Keep looking.